Dear M begins by showing the girl named Jua who is in a hurry because she is late for college. While loading her books and snacks, Jua immediately ran to the bus stop and stopped the moving bus. After boarding, she sat on a bench and sent a message to Minho inviting her to eat a burger before class started. On the bus, Jua, who was about to put on makeup, suddenly dropped her eyeliner because the bus stopped. The eyeliner fell right next to the feet of a man named Moonjun. Moonjun immediately took it and returned the object to Jua. As a sign of gratitude, Jua gave one of her snacks to Moonjun. Not long after, the students got off the bus. After arriving at the university, Jua was about to drink when she was suddenly shocked. Her drink bottle fell and her clothes got wet. Moonjun swiftly gave Jua a handkerchief to clean the clothes, then he went to class. Jua, who was fascinated, could only remain silent while smiling. After that, Minho approached Jua and gave him the favorite food. Meanwhile, at the bus stop, Haemul, Jim's boyfriend, is seen being approached by Rosa. Rosa asked where Haemul was going. Haemul answered that he was going to Sion University. Because the bus they were waiting for never came, Rosa invited Haemul to take a taxi and share the fare. After arriving at campus, Haemul, who was about to pay the fare, suddenly realized that he still needed to bring money. Rosa kindly paid the fare and Haemul gave Rosa a coupon in return. After getting out of the taxi, Haemul immediately called Jimin and hugged her. The two of them then went to college together with holding hands. Another time, Jua was enjoying her meal with Minho. She told Minho about the previous incident with the man who gave her a handkerchief. When Minho heard this, he changed the conversation and discussed Jua's jacket. Minho didn't expect the jacket to look right on Jua's body. Jua looked at his jacket and began to smell the fresh aroma. Then she asked Minho to tell her the brand of detergent he used because she wanted to use the same detergent. A song suddenly played through loudspeakers in every corner of the campus. Before entering class, Haemul asked Jimin to stand next to him to take a photo. The activities of the two of them always attract the attention of other students, so they got the nickname Magnet Ship because they often share moments on social media. Not infrequently, people who see it pray for their relationship to remain harmonious. All students sit in their respective chairs while listening to the lecturer's explanation. The lecturer informed them that the mid-semester assignment was to make a report on the results of a visit to a photo exhibition, but this time they had to take photos outdoors using the techniques they had learned. Jua was still attracted to the smell of Minho's jacket, so she kept smelling the clothes. When she saw Moonjun sitting in front of her, Jua told Minho that he was the man who had helped her earlier. Minho recognized Moonjun as his senior majoring in computer engineering, and the woman next to him was a new student in the same major. After taking attendance, Haemul said goodbye to Jimin because the computer engineering building was far from his class. Rosa, who saw Haemul leaving, smiled at him. After class, Moonjun and his friend, Yangi, approached Minho and Jua. Moonjun, who recognized Jua because he had met him before, immediately greeted him, and they talked for a while. Before leaving, Moonjun reminded Minho to attend his gathering. After that, Moonjun also said goodbye to Jua. While walking with Minho, Jua smiled happily because Moonjun praised her for having a beautiful name. Not long after, Jua's mother contacted Minho, asking him to pick up the food sent to the dormitory immediately. Apart from sending food to her daughter, Jua's mother also sent food to Minho. Meanwhile, Jimin went to the bathroom while playing on her cell phone, and there she saw Rosa straightening her hair. Jimin was surprised because they finally met again after all this time. After an accidental meeting in the bathroom, Jimin invited Rosa to eat together in the canteen. While enjoying lunch, they chatted about campus life. Jimin discovered that Rosa majored in computer engineering and told her that her boyfriend was also in the same major. However, Jimin didn't mention Haemul's name because he had just changed majors and planned to introduce them in person later. Jimin also advised Rosa to install the campus application Surap, which contains all important information about the Sion campus. Meanwhile, Jua receives a package from her mother. Minho came and opened the box and wanted to take the food inside. After that, Jua went with the box to her room. There, Jua shares a room with Jimin and Boyoung. They had just moved dormitories because they had entered a new semester. It turns out that Boyoung is known to suffer from diabetes and has to inject insulin into her body regularly. Elsewhere, Minho lives with Haemul and Mokchin. Minho and Haemul are in the same major, while Mokchin is majoring in psychology. Mokchin, who is interested in MBTI, a famous personality test, asks his friends about it. While eating together, Boyoung got a call from her boyfriend, but she looked annoyed and immediately hung up the call. Mokchin suddenly asked his friends to open the Syrup app, where an anonymous account has posted a touching love confession. They all discussed who the author of the post was. Mokchin suspects a woman wrote it, while others think it is from a man. News about the post quickly spread among students. The next morning, Jimin made a video call with Haemul to ask him what clothes suited him. Jua, who saw this, felt jealous because she wanted to experience a similar moment. Jua met Minho, who told her about his application could now be used, although the design was still perfected. Jua was impressed with the application, so she decided to promote the application on Surap. Then Minho asked Jua about the anonymous post on Surap. He suspected that the post was aimed at him. Jua dismissed this allegation, saying that women often dumped Minho. After finishing practice, Jimin and Rosa took a photo and uploaded it on social media. Not long after that, Rosa received a message from Dongyu asking for Jimin's cell phone number. She was delighted, but it turned out that Dongyu asked for Jimin's cell phone number. An annoyed Rosa recalled when Jimin told her that Dongyu had confessed his love to her, which made Rosa ignore Dongyu's message. Meanwhile, Jua meets Moonjun in the cafeteria. Moonjun said he only tried the app Minho made after he told him. The application is a dating application that helps find partners with the same appetite. Moonjun then took a drink for Jua, joking not to spill it this time. Jua felt happy and thought the anonymous post from Moonjun might be directed at her. Minho, who was in the lab, saw the installation of his application increase drastically and felt grateful to Jua for promoting it on Surap. Now many people are discussing the application he made. When the gathering started, Moonjun offered Minho a place in the application development group because he was also working on a project. However, Minho was busy with other work and was forced to decline the offer. Rosa arrived late but realized that Hamuel had taken the same major as her. They celebrate their gathering by drinking alcohol together. Rosa is not used to drinking alcohol until she's finally saved by Hanuel, who drinks all the alcohol for her. When she saw Hanuel's attitude, Rosa became embarrassed. Minho suddenly went out to answer a call from his older sister, and Jua, who happened to be passing by, decided to approach him. Finally, Jua joined the event. During the drinking event, Jua, who lost the game, was forced to drink more alcohol, but Minho offered to replace her. Unfortunately, Moonjun was quicker and immediately drank the alcohol in front of everyone. Outside, Hanuel got a call from Jimin, telling him to come home immediately. When they were going home, Hanuel suddenly grabbed Rosa, who was almost hit by a motorbike rider. So the man saved Rosa by pulling her to the side of the road. Jimin saw them from a distance and immediately approached and introduced Hanuel as her boyfriend to Rosa. When she heard this, Rosa was surprised because it turned out that the person she liked was Jimin's boyfriend. Jimin and Hanuel went together while talking about an anonymous account that was going viral. Minho, who went home with his friends, was advised by Moonjun to set up a startup company based on his skills. However, Minho said he only wanted to join Li Fang's company. At that time, one of them revealed that Moonjun was the son of the CEO of Li Fang Group. Hearing this, Minho felt happy because Moonjun would help him join the company. Jimin, who was talking about the anonymous account, now feels afraid that the post was written by someone who likes Hanuel. Arriving at the dormitory, Minho and Hanuel saw Mokchin straightening his clothes. Mokchin shows off his ability to fold clothes, which amazes Minho and Hanuel. Jimin, who realized that Jua was in love, and asked if she liked someone. However, instead of answering, Jua showed Jimin a photo of Moonjun. Seeing that, Jimin said that Moonjun would be a good match for Jua. Jimin smiled when she read Hanuel's message, making Rosa curious about their relationship. Rosa then asked what class Hanuel was taking, and without answering, Jimin immediately showed Hanuel's class schedule on her cell phone. After seeing the schedule, Rosa immediately changed her class schedule to be the same as Hanuel. Jua already liked Moonjun, so she asked Minho for help asking what type of woman Moonjun liked. Minho immediately asked Moonjun. After getting the answer, Minho told Jua that Moonjun idolized Baz Suzy. Meanwhile, Boyoung was at a cafe with Mokchin. The two of them met through an application made by Minho. Feeling nervous, Mokchin introduced himself to Boyoung. Mokchin, curious about the contents of Boyoung's small bag, asked casually. Boyoung answered that the bag's contents were a medicine she should always use. Hanuel checks Jimin's social media accounts elsewhere and becomes suspicious of an account that always likes Jimin's photos. Not long after, Jimin came and asked what Hanuel was doing. Hanuel explained that he was checking out the people who had liked her photos. Jua wanted to stay close to Moonjun, so she decided to join his club. Upon entering the room, Jua asked permission to join, and Moonjun happily allowed it. After officially joining, a club member, Yang immediately told Jua to mop the floor because she feared her white clothes would get dirty. After mopping up, Yang asked what the meaning of the selection was, and Minho explained that it was a selection for scholarship recipients who were not receiving the scholarship. Minho, who knew that Jua was included in the scholarship selection, decided to stop the conversation and invited Yang to eat in the cafeteria. While in the cafeteria, Minho was contacted by his sister. Minho, who looked very close to his sister, made Yang curious. Minho explained that he no longer had parents, so if his older sister was his only family. When entering the classroom, Rosa deliberately sat next to Hanyul. Hanyul, knowing that Rosa had difficulty seeing the blackboard, gave her his notebook to copy, which made Rosa even more interested in him. Rosa, who served as assistant cheerleader, finished conducting the interview. However, Rosa saw that Jimin was being interviewed too. One of them said that Jimin was more suitable as an assistant cheerleader because Jimin was very popular. Mokchin realized his laptop had an error and told Hanyul to invite Jimin and her roommate to hang out. After they got together and discussed their respective relationships, while they were together, Jua suddenly asked who the person with the viral anonymous account was. Mokchin thinks a woman wrote the post, but Boyoung believes that a man wrote the post. When Mokchin realized the anonymous account said he was from the photography class, his friends immediately suspected each other. Meanwhile, Jua, who saw the photo of Hanyul and Rosa posted on Surap, was shocked. However, Hanyul explained that he was only helping Rosa, who was almost hit by a motorbike. Even Jimin saw the incident. As usual, Jimin and Hanyul made a video call the next day to ask for opinions about clothes to wear. While Jua and Jimin were having fun chatting, Boyoung suddenly panicked after finding out that her blood sugar had dropped. She checked her refrigerator and was surprised to find that the stock of orange juice had run out. Boyoung then went outside and saw Mokchin, who happened to be carrying orange juice. Immediately, Boyoung took a bottle and said she would treat Mokchin to a meal because Mokchin had saved her life. Jua and Minho were seen distributing Moonjun's flyer about recruiting new members for the computer engineering club. Jua was willing to miss class to help distribute the flyers. Jua then asked about Minho's application development. Hearing this, Minho said his ratings dropped because someone kept giving bad reviews. The review came from a man who was upset after being dumped by his partner. While eating, Moonjun called Jua and Minho to rest. After learning that many people had registered, Moonjun praised Jua for her hard work. While eating together, Jua pretended to be sleepy and said that she had just watched a movie that Moonjun liked even though she didn't like the film. This girl's words surprised Minho. After class, Rosa was putting on lipstick but was accidentally knocked over by another student, so her lipstick fell and hit her skirt. Hanyul, who couldn't bear to see it, lent a shirt to Rosa. Arriving at the cafe, Jimin saw Rosa wearing a Hanyul shirt and asked about it. Hanyul tells her he lent it because Rosa spilled something on her skirt. The three of them started chatting together before the show began. The cheerleaders decided to watch the video of yesterday's interview. Everyone cheered and praised Jimin for looking good on screen. An annoyed Rosa then told Jimin that she was going to the bathroom. Rosa couldn't hide her annoyance, so she took Jimin's uniform and doused it with coffee. When everyone was changing clothes, Jimin looked confused, looking for her uniform. When she finally entered the room without wearing a uniform, the chairman who saw this scolded Jimin. Jimin apologized and said that she would look for her uniform again. However, the members decided to wear other uniforms because there was no time. After the event was over, one of the members suddenly came and gave Jimin her dirty uniform. Rosa then met Jimin at a cafe and sat opposite her. There, she pretended to calm Jimin and said that maybe someone else had accidentally thrown away her uniform. One day, Rosa gave Jimin and Hanyul a keychain. Strangely, Rosa gave both of them different colors. Jimin then asked Rosa to keep this incident a secret from Hanyul because she didn't want to worry Hanyul. Minho, who was visiting Moonjun's room, was amazed to see that Moonjun was using one room for himself. At that time, Moonjun received a message from Jua and then asked Minho about Jua's personality. Minho explained that Jua is very cheerful, doesn't like keeping secrets, and tends not to overthink things. Hearing this, Moonjun admitted that he had never met someone like Jua. When Minho was about to return to his room, he suddenly got a message from Jua asking him to come to work. Meanwhile, Hanyul, who found out that his cheer team members appeared in different uniforms, asked Jimin about it. Jimin explained that they just wanted to look a little remarkable that day. After that, Jimin gave the keychain from Rosa to Hanyul. Jua saw Moonjun's latest post while watching baseball, then asked Minho about the event, but Minho didn't respond, making Hanyul think that Minho might be jealous. After leaving, Hanyul got a message from Rosa asking him to meet in front of the dorm because she wanted to tell him something. Rosa revealed to Hanyul all the events that happened to Jimin, including Jimin's request to keep this a secret. Hanyul thanked Rosa for her honesty and then left. Hanyul told Jimin that he had a lot of work this weekend, so he decided not to go home. While Hanyul was doing her homework, he was surprised that it was his parents' wedding anniversary. Sitting next to Hanyul, Rosa suggested that Hanyul immediately send the cake to his parents and contact the cake shop directly. Hanyul thanks Rosa and agrees to treat her to a meal in return. At the cafe, the owner suddenly asked permission to take a photo with Jimin and Hanyul, arguing that it could help publicity. The cafe owner asked Rosa to take a picture. Jimin, who saw that Rosa's keychain was similar to Hanyul's, asked about it. Rosa explained that she got a bonus for buying 2 keychains. After eating, Hanul received a message from his mother, who was touched after receiving a cake. Jimin, who saw the cake photo, commented that the cake was stunning. Hanul explained that Rosa chose the cake. Minho, who was at home, was surprised by the arrival of his older sister, Minju, who was drunk and brought a burger for Minho. Minju told Minho to quickly eat a burger before entering the dormitory. Jimin advised Hanul to call his mother so she wouldn't feel lonely on this happy day. Hanul agreed and explained to his mother that the cake sent was his friend's choice. Jimin felt sad and asked Hanul always to tell her about important things first. At the restaurant, Minho accidentally met Moonjun and his father. Moonjun's father advised his son to study harder because he would not get special treatment even though his father was a CEO. Moonjun felt pressure and explained that he had formed an app development club and created an app to be accepted by the campus community. Moonjun even showed his father the application Minho made. Meanwhile, Minho was told by his sister's boyfriend that they would be getting married this year. The older sister asked if Minho would be okay if she got married. Hearing that, Minho remembered his past when both his parents died, and his older sister struggled hard to support him. Even though it was difficult, Minho ultimately supported his sister's decision wholeheartedly. After his sister left, Minho opened the savings application on his cell phone and felt sad because his savings weren't enough to help with his sister's wedding expenses. Jimin, who was at Rosa's house, saw a social media account similar to Rosa's. She asked about this, and Rosa explained it was her second account. Rosa also mentioned liking someone but gave the excuse that the man was a senior Jimin didn't know. At the cafe, Jua discovers that Minho has savings to help with his sister's wedding expenses and feels proud and touched. Jua expressed her pride by stroking Minho's head. Minho, who spontaneously held Jua's hand, made the situation awkward. They eventually left together, but their journey was filled with silence. Jua mentioned that a convenience store near her campus was now selling her favorite macarons to clear up any awkwardness. Jua also told Minho that she would dress up as Boss Suzy tomorrow to attract Moonjun's heart. Minho stopped by the convenience store to buy Jua's favorite macarons the next day. After that, Minho, Hemul, Moonjun, and other friends walked toward campus. Jua, who already looks like Boss Suzy, feels pain because of her high heels. When Minho was about to give the macarons to Jua, Moonjun suddenly came and offered her a lift. Boyoung and Jimin, who knew that Jua liked Moonjun, told her to get into the car immediately. Minho, who didn't want them to go alone, pretended that his leg hurt, so he got into the car too. On the way, Moonjun gave a gift to Minho and a box of macarons to Jua. Minho, who felt jealous, gave up his intention to provide the macarons he had bought for Jua. In photography class, all students sit in their respective seats. Their lecturer told students to take pictures on campus and collect their results before class ended. Jua secretly took photos of Moonjun and showed the results to Minho. When he saw this, Moonjun asked permission to photograph Jua. Jimin and Hanul, who were enjoying the moment together, were suddenly surprised by someone taking a photo of Jimin from a distance. When the images were collected, the lecturer was interested in the picture of Jua by Minho. He concluded that they had a very close relationship. Minho confirmed that they had been friends since childhood. Meanwhile, a photo of Hanul, which Rosa took, also appeared. After class, Jimin said that she was surprised because Hanul's photo was suddenly displayed and Rosa showed off the shots while explaining that she had taken many pictures of Hanul and Jimin. Boyoung, who doesn't want to worry her parents, asks Mochin to help provide a blood sample. She explained that she had diabetes and recently her blood sugar was always going up and down, making her mother worried about her condition. In the club room, Minho and Jua are discussing the photo exhibition. Not long after, Moonjun asked Jua to accompany him to a photo exhibition. Jua asked Minho to tell her he and Minho would not be going together so Jua could go with Moonjun. Meanwhile, Yangi, who had not found a friend with whom to go to the photo exhibition, finally decided to ask Minho to go with her. Jua, who saw a man injured, gave him a plaster with a confused face. The man accepted the plaster Jua gave him and then left. After practice, Jimin told Rosa she would play games with Hemul and invited Rosa to come. When she arrived, Jimin, still an amateur at playing games, felt neglected because Hanul was more focused on playing with Rosa. They gathered at the cafe and were surprised to see photos of photography class absences appearing in the posts, along with pictures from photography assignments. Jimin assumed that Hanul had taken the photo, but Hemul explained that he was not the one who had taken the photo. After practice, Jimin invited Rosa to go to the escape room. On the other hand, Moonjun is seen picking up Jua in his car, and they go together to the exhibition area. While on the way, it suddenly rained heavily. Seeing this, Jua apologizes and invites Moonjun to go to the exhibition again because something sudden happened. Jua then gets out of the car after arriving at campus. Minho, who had just left campus, saw the rain falling. The rain reminded Minho of the time his parents had an accident. Minho started walking through the rain with heavy feelings while wearing an umbrella. Suddenly, Jua came and covered Minho. Something sudden and urgent that Jua meant was her concern for Minho, who had trauma related to rain. Jua then asked Minho if he was okay. Minho answered that he was in good condition but felt guilty because he had made Jua fail to go to her photo exhibition. Hearing this, Jua responded that she would go to the exhibition the day after tomorrow. Jua said she still didn't know how to cheer Minho up, even though they had been friends for 12 years. However, Jua can only be beside Minho as she is doing right now. The next day, a senior approached Minho in the lab. He praised Minho's application there, then advised him to start a business and even invited him to invest. However, Minho said that he didn't have enough money for that. After that, Minho returned to the dorm and saw the money he had saved for his brother's wedding. However, when Minho was thinking about his savings, the fire alarm suddenly sounded, causing everyone to panic and run out to save themselves. Minho looked worried as he tried to contact Jua, but there was no answer. Feeling anxious, Minho decided to follow her. Not long after, Jua arrived at the dormitory with a wet towel stuck to her body. Elsewhere, Mukchin, Hamul, Jimin, and Rosa are in the escape room arena, trying to find a way out. They needed clarification when the admin gave instructions on the condition that they had to dance. Hamul immediately showed off his skills, accompanied by music that boosted his team's spirit. In the dormitory, Jua came out with a wet towel, which became the students' conversation topic. Moonjun immediately shielded Jua from their gazes. After the hostel officials checked, they concluded that there was no fire but someone accidentally smoking in the room. Meanwhile, Jimin and Mukchin, who were scared, found it difficult to find further clues, so Rosa, who had the opportunity, offered to accompany Hamul. After the game, the worker gave a photo of Hamul and Rosa humming in the room. Jimin saw the picture and felt jealous. Hamul explained that he was only helping Rosa, who had almost fallen. Hamul then asked the worker to discard the photo, not to satisfy Jimin. Upon arrival at the dormitory, Rosa joined Jimin and Hamul's Netflix account. When they looked at the history of the films they had watched, Jimin became suspicious because Rosa's viewing history was the same as Hamul's. Meanwhile, on the table is a photo of him humming Hamul while playing. On the other hand, Mukchin is seen inviting Hamul and Minho to visit a place famous for its beautiful sea. This was because the photography assignment involved natural landscapes, but they both immediately rejected it because the distance was quite far. While choosing a book in the library, Mukchin accidentally saw an injection mark on his hand, so he remembered Boyan's condition, who had diabetes. Mukchin decided to find out about diabetes by reading the book. In the room, Jimin started to get suspicious when she saw that Rosa's viewing history was identical to Hamul's. This made Jimin remember what Jua had said about Rosa, who liked someone. In the cafeteria, Jua waited for a dining friend she met through a dating application. When the man arrived, he stopped, remembering when Jua gave him a band-aid. However, just as they got to know each other, Jua suddenly got a message asking her to collect her assignment immediately, so she decided to leave. The man felt dumped and frustrated by giving Minho's application a low rating. On the other hand, Jimin, Hamul, and Rosa are at the cafe. Rosa told Jimin to sit down first because she would order drinks. Not long after, Rosa came and sat next to Hamul. After finishing, Hamul and Rosa go together to attend class, making Jimin feel jealous of their closeness. After collecting assignments, Jua told Minho that she and Moonjun were attending a photo exhibition. Moonjun gave Jua coffee in the car and helped put her seatbelt on. Jua felt nervous and started drinking her coffee. When looking at the packaging, Jua found the same sentence as the one in the anonymous account, making her even more convinced that Moonjun wrote the post. They met Minho and Yangi at the exhibition, which surprised Jua. At the training ground, Jimin felt afraid that another woman liked Hamul, and calmly, Rosa calmed Jimin so she wouldn't worry too much. Even though Jimin was trying to be sarcastic, suddenly one said the anonymous account had made the latest post. With that, Jimin and Rosa immediately saw the post on their cell phones. After looking at them individually, they realized that some of the photos posted had the letter Dear M in each image. However, when they discovered Hamul didn't have the letter M in his name, they reassured Jimin not to worry too much about someone liking Hamul. When she was about to reply to Hamul's message, Jimin's cell phone suddenly turned off and she borrowed Rosa's phone to respond to Hamul. However, when she typed in Hamul's number, she saw that Hamul's number was named Manuel by Rosa, which is Jimin's affectionate nickname for Hamul. While in the library, Jua, who kept feeling like Minho was following her, told the man to leave and scolded him, but Minho ignored her, which upset Jua. Later at the dorm, Jimin told Boyan that Rosa had saved Hamul's number under Manuel without her knowledge. When she heard this, Boyeon advised Jimin to be careful with her and not to create opportunities for them to be together, because according to her, it can trigger feelings that were not there before. Minho started to think bad things about their time together. Minho decided to follow Jua, but on the way, Minho met Jua and Moonjun, who had just returned from the cafe. After that, the three of them went home together. When they got there, Moonjun asked if Minho liked Jua. Feeling confused, Minho tried to cover it up by asking whether Moonjun liked Jua. Moonjun said that he became happier when he saw Jua. After that, Moonjun left Minho. Jua was confused about her dream. She told Minho that she wanted to become a sports announcer, after which Jua started praising Moonjun in front of him, making Minho jealous. The next day, Jimin, Hanyul, and Mokjin were walking to campus. Mokjin said that Hanyul needed to get more sleep because he stayed up late doing assignments with Rosa. Even though she was disappointed, Jimin chose not to discuss it. Meanwhile, the man Jua once rejected changed his name to Mazuro and invited Jua to eat together. Jua confirmed the invitation and immediately went to class. Minho then went to his sister and offered her financial help for the wedding because he knew his sister didn't have enough money. After that, Minho contacted his senior and agreed to the business offer that had previously been submitted. Jimin, curious about Rosa's second account, checked it and found that it only contained photos of the sky, which in Korean means Hanyul. On the other hand, Minho is sending money to his seniors for investment. He then contacted Jua and told her if he would start doing business. Jua, heading to the cafeteria, told Minho she would meet her dining companion and turned off the phone. The man invited Jua to eat at a nearby cafe when they met. Meanwhile, Jimin, annoyed with Rosa, asked if Rosa liked Hanyul. Minho is in the lab looking at his app analytics and checking Jua's date. After checking, it turned out that the account belonged to someone who always commented badly about the application. Realizing this, Minho immediately looked for Jua. However, when he arrived at the location, Minho did not find Jua there. On the other side, Jua, walking with her dining companion, felt something was wrong. Jua asked if a restaurant was nearby, but the man answered there wasn't one while holding a knife. Sensing something was wrong, Jua took perfume from her bag and sprayed it on the man's face. With all her might, Jua ran away and hid near the car. There, Jua tried to contact Minho, but Minho's number was not active. Likewise, Minho couldn't contact Jua. Jua continued running when the man caught her until she finally met Moonjun, who made the man immediately leave. Elsewhere, Jimin shows Rosa photos of the sky with Hanyul's reflection, who continues denying her accusations. Instead of admitting her mistake, Rosa scolds Jimin, accusing her of being the one who asked her to look after Hanyul. Rosa also adds that all she did was be nice because Hanyul was Jimin's boyfriend. Feeling guilty, Jimin apologizes and admits she has been too sensitive lately. However, Rosa is still annoyed and chooses to leave, leaving Jimin behind. Meanwhile, Moonjun gave Jua a drink and suggested she go to the police once she calmed down. However, Jua still couldn't express her fear even though Moonjun was the first one who found her. Not long after, Minho found Jua and immediately poured out all her worries to Minho. Finally, the three agreed to report the incident to the police. After the business at the police station was finished, Minho and Jua went to the cafe. There, Minho asked how she was doing. Minho, who felt guilty about this incident, decided to close the application because he worried other victims would use the same method. Instead, Minho promised to make something else. Minho then apologized to Jua for being late in finding her when the incident occurred. Rosa was looking at her photo with Hanyul in her room, and then she sent a message to Mokjin asking him to eat together. When he got the message, Mokjin immediately agreed. Because Minho had closed the dating application, every user immediately received a notification. When Minho was working on his college assignments, Hanyul was busy finishing a video game that would be completed at the end of this semester. Jimin tried to approach Rosa the next day, but Rosa avoided her. Meanwhile, Jua called Minho to ask him to go to the gym. At first, Minho refused, but after learning from Mokjin that most people at the gym were men, Minho quickly followed suit. When he arrived, Minho saw Jua being taught by someone and immediately approached him, making the person leave. Not long after, Moonjun suddenly arrived, making Minho look jealous. Finally, the three of them exercised together. At the cafe, Jimin met Hanyul and asked him to go to Tangyang. Hanyul, who found out about this, decided to come along. Hearing that Jua would also come to Tangyang and Mokjin, Minho chose not to go because he had to work on his new application project. At the cafe, Mokjin asked Rosa about her intention to meet him. Rosa reasons that she wants to get closer to Mokjin, even though her real goal is to get more information about Hanyul. Finally, Mokjin invited Rosa to go to Tangyang together, and after learning that Jimin and Hanyul were also going, Rosa agreed. Jimin then called Rosa and apologized. Seeing an opportunity to approach Hanyul again, Rosa accepted Jimin's apology. Meanwhile, at the cafe, Jua asks Mokjin to invite Monjun to come to Tanyang, and in return, Jua will give him the cleaning tools that Mokjin wants. Finally, Mokjin agreed to take Moonjun to Tanyang. In the evening, they all gathered together. Mokjin discussed their plans to go to Tanyang and invited Minho to come along. After that, they all saw the latest post from an anonymous account that posted a picture of a blooming flower and started guessing who it was. Minho looked jealous when Mokjin discussed Jua's closeness to Moonjun. Hanyul, who knew about this, advised Minho not to act stupidly if he liked Jua. Hearing this advice, Minho finally changed his mind and came to Tanyang. The next day, everyone gathered in front of the campus and they left with Moonjun driving. Before leaving, Minho told Jua to sit next to him because he was worried that Jua would fall asleep, but Jua, who didn't obey his words, ended up falling asleep next to Moonjun. Upon arrival, Boyoung gave gifts to Mokjin's parents, while Mokjin could only look at him silently. After arranging each of their belongings, Rosa used Jimin's perfume. Knowing this, Jimin thought it was a coincidence and said that the perfume was the same as the gift from Hanyul. In the evening, they were all together at the meeting place. Rosa brought her homemade gochujang and received praise from everyone. Gochujang is Hanyul's favorite food, which Rosa found out about on Jimin's social media. Because the dating app had been closed, Moonjun's father contacted him to ask why. Moonjun reasoned that he wanted to prepare a new application. His father told Moonjun to participate in an application development competition. Meanwhile, they are all playing a word game and the loser has to drink alcohol. Hanyul keeps losing games and ends up drinking more alcohol until he gets drunk. Without Minho realizing it, he expressed his feelings for Jua, but Jua only thought it was a joke. When Minho finds out that Moonjun likes Jua, he leaves them. After the game was over, Jimin took Rosa out to catch the wind on the beach. Jimin thanked Rosa for forgiving him. When Jimin was cold, he excused himself to get a jacket, but Rosa asked to borrow Jimin's hair tie before leaving. Jimin removed his tie, tied it into Rosa's hair, and left it there. At home, Hanyul asked his friends where Jimin had gone and tried calling her, but got no answer. Boyoung, who was helping Mokjin clean up the house, found a picture made by Moonjun. Feeling something strange, Mokjin matched the image with one posted by the anonymous account and found similarities. They also thought that Moonjun was the owner of the anonymous account. Hanyul, who thought the person by the sea was Jimin, immediately approached and hugged her from behind. However, after seeing Jimin standing before him, Hanyul suddenly let go of his hug. Jua, who was still under the influence of alcohol, was now acting strangely in front of Moonjun. After expressing het feelings, Jua asked permission to kiss Moonjun just once and Moonjun immediately kissed Jua. Without them realizing it, Minho saw them from behind the wall. The next day, Jua woke up and joined the others for breakfast. She didn't remember last night's events and felt awkward. She then asked Minho what happened. After eating, they said goodbye to Mokjin's respective parents. Mokjin's mother, who saw that Boyoung was very caring, advised Mokjin to make Boyoung his girlfriend. On the way home, Jua, who looked at the clock, realized that she kissed Moonjun the previous night. After arriving in Seoul, Moonjun invited Jua to watch a film and Jua agreed. Arriving at the campus, Mokjin thanked Moonjun for lending him his car. After everyone returned to their rooms, Jua asked Minho to go to the convenience store, but Minho refused because he was still upset about last night's events. Meanwhile, Jimin invited Hanyul to talk about last night's events. Hanyul apologized to Jimin, explaining that he was drunk and couldn't tell the difference between Rosa and Jimin, especially since Rosa wore the same hairstyle and perfume as Jimin. Even though Jimin was still annoyed, she forgave Hanyul and told him to apologize to Rosa. After that, Hanyul said goodbye to Jimin because he had to go to the lab to do his assignment. On the way to the lab, Hanyul received a message from Rosa asking to return the cheat sheet. Hanyul told him he was attending the lab, but Rosa insisted because her senior would borrow it tomorrow. Forced, Hanyul went to Rosa's dorm. Upon arrival, Hanyul saw Rosa arguing with a man who claimed to be her boyfriend. Rosa, who felt she had never dated him, was angry and asked the man to delete his posts on social media. After seeing the incident, Hanyul put the cheat sheet in front of the door and sent a message to Rosa. Not long after, Rosa opened the door and found Hanyul crying. Rosa told Hanyul to accompany her and said that she felt scared. Rosa explained that she had rejected Taejin's love confession from the start. However, Taejin didn't accept it and spread strange rumors about her. Hearing this, Hanyul advised Rosa not to continue thinking about these rumors. Hanyul received a message from Jimin, then intended to reply, but Rosa asked him to keep the incident a secret from Jimin. Finally, Hanyul lied to Jimin about his current whereabouts. That evening, Hanyul was seen going out with Rosa, Taejin, who saw them together and took a photo from a distance. On the other side, Minho, who wanted to cancel his business, continued to contact his seniors but has yet to get an answer. Boyoung approached Jimin and showed her a photo of Rosa and Haemul going out together. Feeling annoyed, Jimin contacted Haemul and asked where he was. While at the cafe, Jimin started interrogating Haemul about photos of him and Rosa. Haemul explained what happened, but Jimin, still annoyed, thought Haemul had feelings for Rosa. Jimin feels this misunderstanding keeps happening repeatedly, from intimate photos on the playground, hugs in Tanyang, and Haemul's lies today. Finally, Jimin decided to take a break from her relationship and left there. Even though disappointed, Haemul returned to his dorm and told his friend about the incident. When he heard this, Makjin advised Haemul not to contact Jimin first, because, according to him, Jimin would hate him even more if Haemul continued to contact her. But in reality, Jimin wanted Haemul to contact her first. The next day, Jewel ran up to Minho, who was walking, and told him that she would confess his feelings to Moonjun. While Boyoung and Jimin were walking to class, Boyoung met her senior and greeted him. Seeing this, Jimin realized that this man was the man Rosa liked. However, after being asked the truth, Jimin discovers that Rosa has consistently lied to her. When she was about to enter class, Jimin ignored Rosa, who tried to talk to her and entered the class with Boyoung. After class finished, Haemul approached Jimin and asked her to talk. Meanwhile, Jua entered the club room and asked Yangi about Moonjun's whereabouts. Yangi told her that Moonjun was going on a blind date held by Minho's friend. Feeling sad, Jua walked out and stopped in her tracks when she saw Minho standing in front of her. In another place, Haemul was talking to Jimin about yesterday's incident. He apologized and admitted his mistake. Jimin, who saw Haemul's sincerity, forgave him and said she was emotional and rash when making decisions. After Haemul promised not to do it again, they finally made up. Minho knew that Jua was disappointed in Moonjun, invited her to relieve stress by watching a movie with him. Jua was suddenly contacted by Moonjun, who told her that he was at the cafe where Jua worked. However, Jua said that she is not working at the moment. After that, Jua hung up the phone and asked Minho to leave. Minho, who knew that Jua's happiness was with Moonjun, finally told Jua to come to meet him. Hearing this, Jua agreed and left there. Meanwhile, Rosa feels cornered and finally admits that she likes Haemul. Rosa said that Haemul always gave her opportunities, and Haemul's good attitude made her want to take Haemul from Jimin. Hearing this, Jimin said that whatever Rosa did would not make Haemul fall in love with her. Apart from that, Jimin also warned Rosa not to greet each other starting tomorrow because she didn't want to be friends with someone who had ruined her relationship. After meeting Rosa, Jimin is surprised by Haemul, who calls her to sit together on a bench. Haemul held Jimin's hand while asking her not to fight anymore. The next day, Minho was in the lab, sending a message to his senior. On the other side, Rosa is looking for a cassette to give to Haemul as a gift. Rosa then messages Haemul and tells him that she has something for him. Jimin is seen waiting for Haemul at the bus stop while carrying a gift, but a woman suddenly comes and tells him that Haemul is with another woman. Jimin, who thought that the woman was Rosa, then immediately went to meet him. However, when she arrived, Jimin discovered that the woman was not Rosa. At the dormitory, Makjin and the others were seen surprising Haemul, but Haemul ignored it and looked listless. When asked, Haemul said that he had broken up with Jimin. The next day, Rosa looked happy when she saw a post on Surap regarding the end of Jimin and Haemul's relationship. Meanwhile, Moonjun advised Jua to apply to be a host at the Autumn Festival, which will be held soon. Moonjun deliberately suggested this so that Jua would gain experience first before entering the broadcasting world. On the other side, Yangi greeted Minho and told him that someone had cheated 2 seniors in his major, and the fraudsters were named Chiwon and Jiang. Hearing this, Minho immediately contacted his senior, but unfortunately, the number was inactive. After Yang informed them, Minho and his friend immediately went to the police station to report the fraud case. When they got there, the police explained that they would file a civil lawsuit, but they were not sure that the money would be returned. Minho was confused, then asked his friend to hire a lawyer so he could win the civil lawsuit. However, his friend refused because he thought it would take a lot of time and money, so he chose to give up his money. After registering, a senior approached Jua and told her about the problem happening to Minho. Jua immediately ran to find Minho's whereabouts while calling him. But unfortunately, his cell phone couldn't be contacted. Jua stopped when he saw Minho, then approached him and asked how he was. With tears in his eyes, Minho asked what he should do. Jua understood Minho's feelings and could only cry while hugging him. Jua knew how hard Minho had tried to raise the money, which he would use to help with his sister's wedding expenses. Over the years, Minho worked hard to repay his sister, who had always cared for him. Minho prefers to work various jobs rather than spend time with his friends. After class, Rosa, who found out Haemul had broken up with Jimin, invited him to eat together. However, Haemul said that he was not hungry. When he was about to leave, Hamuel suddenly met Taejin, who discussed posting his photos on Surap. Taejin told him that he was the one who had taken the photo. Hearing this, Hamuel immediately became angry and pushed Taejin against the wall. Meanwhile, Jimin's friend told her that Hamuel was fighting with Taejin, so she immediately came to him. Rosa saw Jimin's arrival. She immediately slapped Taejin. Not accepting it, Taejin raised his hand and prepared to hit Rosa, but Hamuel quickly blocked it. Jimin, who felt jealous, then shouted at Hamuel and left there. When Hamuel saw this, he went after Jimin to invite him to talk, but Jimin, who was already jealous, finally rejected Hamuel's invitation. That evening, Minho told Jua that he would take time off from college to work so he could save more for his sister's wedding expenses. Minho didn't want his sister to feel inferior on her wedding day. Jua said it would be in vain because the end of the semester was coming soon. While drunk, Jua continued to encourage Minho not to give up easily. Unexpectedly, Minho expressed his feelings for Jua again. Hearing this, Jua ignored it because she thought that Minho had lost consciousness due to drunkenness. As they were walking home from the cafe, Jua received a call from Moonjun. Meanwhile, Minho swiftly took Jua's cell phone and asked her not to like Moonjun because, according to him, Jua felt like a stranger when she wanted someone. The next day, Moonjun contacted Jua to ask about his condition. Jua told him that Minho would be taking leave, and she was worried that Minho would not return to college again. Jua finally asked Moonjun for help in persuading Minho not to take leave. When Moonjun and Minho sat together, Moonjun showed the application poster on his cell phone and tried to convince him to join. If successful, they will get a prize of 30 million won. Rosa wanted to greet Jimin, seemed ignored in the practice room. Jimin, still annoyed, decided to sit far away from Rosa because the cheerleader election would be held in a month. The coach then asked if anyone wanted to apply for the leadership role. Hearing this, Jimin immediately volunteered as a candidate. In a toilet, two members were seen discussing Jimin's behavior of ignoring Rosa. They started to think that Rosa's actions had ended Jimin and Hanuel's relationship. On the other side, Minho was contacted by his sister, who told him that she couldn't open the bubbling application. Minho said that he had closed the app. Minho didn't want to disappoint his sister, then contacted Moonjun and told him that he agreed to join the application competition. Minho explained that he designed an app based on daily activities, and Moonjun immediately agreed. After finishing talking, Minho asked about the person Moonjun liked, but Moonjun said that he would tell Minho at the right time. Minho, who felt there was an opportunity to earn money, then told Jua that he had canceled taking leave from college. Meanwhile, Jimin was seen at the Jimpyeong shop. Because the place was full, the shop owner told Jimin to share a chair with Yedem. Jimin ordered level 3 spicy Jimpyeong, and Yedem told her the Jimpyeong here was very spicy. Jimin answered that she was used to it. Yedem is a student in the same class as Jimin, but Jimin doesn't recognize him. Yedem had feelings for Jimin and started approaching her after learning that Jimin had broken up with Hamuel. While Minho was in the lab, Yang Yi suddenly came to ask him to drink together, but Minho refused and told her that he was busy. Yang Yi decided to wait for Minho to finish. Minho saw Yang Yi waiting for him and then asked her to leave. In the night, Jua sent a message to Moonjun and thanked him because Moonjun had successfully persuaded Minho to cancel his college leave. The mother, who saw Jua smiling, asked who the man who managed to fascinate her was. Jua shows Moonjun a photo on her cell phone, but her mother doesn't look happy because she actually wants Minho to be her son-in-law. The mother said that Minho was a diligent, intelligent, and respectful man of his parents. The storyline goes back to when Minho was scolded by his girlfriend for always helping Jua with her assignments. Minho continued defending Jua until his girlfriend told him to choose between herself and Jua. Minho chose Jua, which caused their relationship to break down. This continues into the next relationship. On the other side, Hanuel saw Jimin's social media account, which had only one post. Hanuel also looked at Yedem's account because he was curious about Yedem, who often liked Jimin's photos. Meanwhile, Jimin is chatting with Boyoung about his meeting with Yedem at the Jimpyeong shop. In the practice room, Jimin showed the moves she made to the other members and received praise from them. Rosa warned Jimin not to go too far, but Jimin said that now she would never back down, then left Rosa. Jimin stopped when she saw Junwoo alone with a woman and asked if he was dating. Junwoo asked Jimin to keep it a secret from the other members. Mochin and Hanuel saw that Minho was still asleep and decided to bring his cell phone to miss class. When he was about to go to class, Moonjun called Jua to tell her that he would not attend class today because he had urgent matters. Moonjun encouraged Jua, who would participate in the selection, to become host for the festival. Jua, who had never seen Minho's presence, asked Mochin about his whereabouts. On the other side, Moonjun is taking part in an interview with his father regarding the launch of a new application called Future Investment. His father said that his son was developing an application popular among teenagers. Moonjun was worried because he'd closed the app and was now working on a new app. In the photography class, the lecturer told them that the class would be closed during the exam, but they had to upload several photos from the campus festival for this assignment. Minho came right after the class finished. Yanyi immediately called him and expressed her feelings while offering him flowers. Minho was just silent while looking at Jua and taking the flowers. When he returned home, Minho returned the flowers that Yanyi had given him and explained that he had received the flowers so as not to hurt Yanyi in public. Yanyi asked Minho to give her a chance, but Minho refused because he already liked someone. Meanwhile, Rosa, who didn't go to class, told Hanyul that she was sick. Rosa asked Hanyul to lend her the notebook. Rosa then called the cheerleaders and said that Junwo and Yusa were dating. Rosa admitted that she knew about this from Jimin. Apparently, when Junwo asked Jimin to keep his relationship a secret, Rosa had heard their conversation. Rosa deliberately slandered Jimin so that the other members would hate her. We are shown Yidam, who missed class and went to meet Jimin at the cafe. Yidam told her that he was the person who took Jimin's photo at that time. While the others were preparing the script for the show, Jua prepared lots of guessing quizzes so that the show wouldn't be boring. After finishing, Yangi approached Jua and told her that she liked Minho. Jua asked if Yangi and Minho were dating, but Yangi said that she had been rejected because Minho liked someone. In the afternoon, Mokshin was in the library looking at posts on Surap. His gaze was focused on Boyan because it turned out that Boyan's characteristics were the same as the post on Surap. Then it cuts to Hanyul, who was looking at Jimin and realizing that Jimin is no longer wearing a ring. Hanyul tried to invite Jimin to talk, but Jimin refused and left. Mokshin saw the latest post from an anonymous account and notified the others. Everyone started to wonder who hadn't attended class today because he had anonymously written that he couldn't attend photography class today because of an emergency. Jua asked Minho why he rejected Yangi's confession of love. Minho only said that he doesn't want to date currently. Jua was curious about the woman Minho liked, asked further. We are shown Jimin putting her book in her locker and then greeting Junwo, who has just arrived. Junwo immediately scolded Jimin for breaking his promise. Jimin doesn't understand, and Junwo explains that Rosa had leaked her relationship to the cheerleaders and got the information from Jimin. Jimin also went to meet Rosa in her class to ask her to talk. Jimin didn't understand the reason for Rosa's actions, and Rosa answered that she did it because she really hated Jimin. At night, Jua is seen laughing while reading posts on Surap, making it difficult for her to focus on studying. Jua also invited Minho to go study at the cafe. After that, the two of them went to a cafe to study together. Jua was still curious about the woman Minho liked, borrowed his cell phone to look for information but only found a photo of herself in the gallery. Seeing this, Jua thought Minho was deliberately collecting her pictures as a joke. Minho then explained that the photo could be medicine when he was sad. The next day, Moonjun and Minho walked together while discussing the festival. When they saw the flower delivery service, Moonjun immediately approached it. Minho asked if Moonjun would send flowers to someone he likes, and Moonjun confirmed it. While watching the film, Jimin cried because she remembered the memories of watching it together with Hemil. Yadam, who saw this, could only watch from a distance. After Jimin finished watching, Yadam approached her and invited her to eat at the cafe. Hemil, who saw them, immediately stopped in his tracks. Ju grumbled at Minho the next day because the organizers needed to provide the selection results. Minho tried to convince Jua that she would pass. Yangi suddenly came carrying food and sat next to Minho. While they were eating together, Yangi received news that she had qualified to be the event's host, which disappointed Jua. Boyan enters the room carrying flowers from the dorm and says they are for their room number. However, Boyan needed to find out to whom the flowers were sent. Jimin thought Moonjun had sent the flowers that Moonjun had sent to Jua, so Boyan gave them to Jo. There is the dirtiest room competition, where each judge will choose the dirtiest room and the winner will be awarded fried chicken. The men's and women's dormitories will be open to the public during the competition. Jua and Boyan went out together, while Jimin had to attend cheer practice. When the other rooms were deliberately messed up, Jua and Boyan were amazed by how neat Mokshin's room was. Minho, who arrived at the dorm, said he had tried to convince Mokshin to dirty his room, but Mokshin still didn't agree. Jua told Minho that she had just received a flower delivery. Meanwhile, Yadam is waiting for Jimin to invite her to eat together. Yadam, who knew that Jimin liked melodrama, lent her his cassette. At the cafe, Yadam confesses his feelings to Jimin. Everyone enjoys the campus festival event. Jua and Minho came to the festival together and came across Mokshin, who was opening a fortune-telling stand. Jua received a prediction that today she would get something that would shake her heart, while Minho received a message to immediately gather his courage if he didn't want to lose his love. Minho and Jua continue their journey through the festival, stopping when they see an arm wrestling match and Hanyul coming to compete with Yidam. Jua then took to the stage as the host for the festival's opening ceremony. Everyone applauded when they saw her. During the event, one of the judges asked Jua to be the host because they had prepared 2 stages. The staff tells Jua that the next band will be 20 minutes late, so she is asked to buy time by giving a quiz to the audience. When Jua runs out of ideas, she repeats the same quiz, making the audience feel bored. Minho decided to help Jua by introducing himself on stage. Minho decided to sing to buy some time. Unexpectedly, everyone was mesmerized to see the young man singing with his melodious voice. On the other side, the computer club chose a Nindies theme and appeared in its style. Moonjun invited Jua to talk after the event was over. In the evening, Mokjin, who went on a random date, was busy looking for the woman named Elsa, who was written on his card. Meanwhile, Jimin and Yeadam enter the haunted house with Hanyul seeing them, and Hanyul decides to follow. When Hanyul saw Jimin and Yeadam having fun, he left there. Jua and Minho operated the festival stand. Ryun comes with her friend and greets Moonjun, introducing herself as Moonjun's girlfriend to Jua. Jua feels devastated because Moonjun always talks about Jua to Ryun and only thinks of Jua as his cute little sister. Ryun thanks Jua for comforting Moonjun, and it turns out that the reason Moonjun went on a blind date was to make Ryun jealous. Jua decided to leave there. When Mokjin and Hanyul were drinking together, Hanyul suddenly said that this was the first time he saw Jimin smile at another man. Rosa came and approached them. Mokjin went to the toilet, and Rosa decided to take Hanyul home. Jimin saw the two of them holding hands. Boyoung approached Mokjin, who was drinking alone, and took out the card in Elsa's name that Mokjin had been looking for. Mokjin says that Elsa is here. Minho, who understood Jua's feelings, came to accompany her while she was crying. Jua says she has no right to be angry with Moonjun because she is not his girlfriend but only his younger sister. Jua feels inferior, and Minho says that even though Jua was not Moonjun's first love, she could still be someone else's first love. Minho gave the hairpin to Jua and kissed her. When she woke up from her sleep, Jua screamed because she remembered what happened last night. Boyoung, shocked, woke up and asked how she was, but Jua didn't tell her the truth and went back to sleep. Hanyul, who was confused about how to get home, was told by Mokjin that Rosa had taken it home. At campus, Jua asked Minho to forget last night's incident because she felt it was a mistake. Minho said it wasn't a mistake because they did it consciously and Minho liked Jua. Jua considered it a mistake and said she couldn't be friends with Minho anymore if Minho liked her. Rosa was watching her members practice, asked them to change their movements because she thought Jimin's movements looked boring. Jimin had just arrived, felt that she did not accept Rosa's actions, and asked the chairman for his opinion about her movements. When the chairman watched, he thought Jimin's moves were perfect, much to Rosa's mad. In the toilet, Rosa, who overheard the other members' conversation, felt annoyed because they continued to support Jimin by voting for her on Surap's account. After practice, the chairman met Jimin and asked him to go home together. Rosa, who saw them, took a photo. In his room, Jua was looking at the broadcasting recruitment registration form. Boyoung and Jimin came, and Boyoung asked about Jua's condition, which looked gloomy the previous day. Jua explained what happened to her last night. Boyoung, who knew Jua had been betrayed, felt angry with Moonjun's actions. Jua said she couldn't continue her desire to become a sportscaster because she thought her passion was because of Moonjun. However, Boyoung advised Jua not to give up on pursuing her dreams. When Jimin saw the flowers on her desk, she asked Jua why she kept them there. Jimmy then told her that the flowers were sent from Hanyul, and Minho told her about it. The next day, Jua was approached by a judge who was interested in her. Many people liked her appearance as a host at the festival, so the judge invited Jua to attend her broadcast event. On the other side, Minho, who never got a reply from Jua, then looked at Jua's class schedule and chose to skip class. While in the cafeteria, Minho came with food and sat opposite Jua. Jua, who felt uncomfortable, finally left there. Minho immediately chased her and asked why Jua always avoided him. Jua then told him she would continue avoiding Minho until he woke up. When Jimin entered the practice room, she saw everyone looking at her strangely. She was surprised and asked her friend about this. When Jimin saw a photo of her and the chairman posted on Surap, she immediately denied it. The chairman explained that Jimin did not have any relationship with him. He deliberately took him home because he felt sorry for Jimin, who had been practicing until late at night. After practice, Jimin was contacted by Yeadam, who invited him to eat jjimpyeong. However, Jimin instead invited Yeadam to drink alcohol. Hanyul wanted to meet Jimin, then went to the practice room and asked Rosa where she was. Rosa answered that Jimin had gone home first, then invited Hanyul to eat together, but Hanyul refused and left. At the cafe, Jimin was seen drinking with Yeadam. Yeadam knew that Jimin was sad because of the post on Surap, encouraged her not to think about other people's opinions. On the other hand, Hamuel waited for Jimin in front of the campus but left to send his assignment immediately after getting the report. Right after Hamuel left, Jimin and Yedim came there. Moonjun visits Jua at her workplace, but he doesn't get her usual warm welcome. When he invites her to watch a baseball game, Jua declines, saying she's too busy. Moonjun decides to leave. Jua, frustrated with Moonjun's behavior, tells him she has had feelings for him all along. She also warns him not to act sweet if he only sees her as a younger sister. The next day, Jua meets Yangi at the broadcasting building. Yangi tells her that the selection process is very competitive and suggests that Jua get some training first. Yangi also says she's had training before and will share her materials with Jua if Jua tells her who Minho likes. Although Jua has told Minho not to contact her, Minho doesn't listen. He can't stop liking Jua and has tried various ways to forget his feelings. Minho asks Jua to consider his feelings instead of telling him to ignore them. When the new students arrived, all high school girls were amazed to see Minho and Mokjin as they walked past them. All the boys were also mesmerized when they saw Boyoung and Jimin's beauty. Meanwhile, Hanuel was giving directions to the new students. Then he met Jimin's younger brother Jihan. He gave some important tips to Jihan, making the young man grateful to Hanuel. Back at the dorm, Jimin and Boyoung find Jua looking down. Jua says she wants to quit sports broadcasting because she doesn't have enough money, but Boyoung and Jimin encourage her to keep going. Jimin starts doing Jua's makeup and takes her to the cheerleading practice room. Soon Minho arrives with the camera. Jimin, Boyoung, and Mokjin leave together, but Boyoung suddenly collapses. Mokjin sees this, tells Minho to call an ambulance. At the hospital, Minho asks Jimin to get clothes for Boyoung and Hamuel, to get a laptop while he stays there. When Boyoung regains consciousness, a nurse tells her that her boyfriend acted quickly, preventing a more severe situation. The nurse is referring to Mokjin. Mokjin arrives soon after and hugs the now-awake Boyoung. It turns out Mokjin has learned emergency care for type 1 diabetes patients. Meanwhile, Minho visits Jua to ask about Boyoung's condition. Jua says Boyoung will be able to go home the next day. Minho says goodbye but is seen listening to Jua reading news scripts outside the room. All the students enter the classroom and take their seats. The professor comes in to give them their final assignment, which is a group project. The professor reads out the group members, and it turns out that Jimin, Hamuel, and Yedim are in the same group. They go to a record store to find a film for their project. After finding a suitable movie, they start posing for photos. Since Hamuel looks stiff when smiling, Yedim takes his place and begins taking pictures with Jimin and Hamuel. Meanwhile, Jua is about to pick up a book when Moonjun and his friends stop and ask her to join them for a meal. During the dinner, one of Moonjun's friends mentions watching Moonjun's interview, which makes the others curious. Moonjun panics, fearing that his lie will be exposed. In the interview, Moonjun claimed that an app created by Minho was his own. However, after watching the video, Moonjun feels relieved because the interviewers edited the footage. After finishing their project, Yedim asks Jimin about the date of the cheerleading leader election. Jimin says it will be on the 16th. Yangi and Jua are also preparing for a broadcasting test on the same date. After their practice, Yangi advises Jua to tell her parents about the training costs since the election is coming soon. Jimin and Rosa are invited to join a video broadcast titled The Battle of the Century. Minho walks into his room while on the phone with Jua's mother, who is worried about Jua always looking down. Minho tells Jua's mother not to worry too much as he will check on Jua soon. Mokjin informs Minho that Jua has been talking about the training costs. Jua goes to her mother's shop to share her thoughts. Her mother serves her a bowl of tteokbokki and discusses financial troubles and rising prices. Jua decides not to ask her mother for help with the training fees. Minho waits at the dorm to pick up food from Jua's mother. After getting the food, Minho asks Jua if her preparations are going well. Jua nods and goes to her room to rest. Jua watches a video on interview techniques online. She then sees a video of Moonjun and his father discussing the app. The video is fully uploaded and Jua realizes that Moonjun lied to his father by claiming Minho's app as his own. The next day, Mokjin walks with Minho and Hamuel and greets Boyoung, Jua, and Jimin when they meet. Seeing the awkward situation, Mokjin advises them to mend their relationship. They then visit a bracelet stand and buy some bracelets to wear together. Soon after, Yedim arrives and asks Jimin to pick a bracelet. Hamuel and Minho are in the cafeteria, watching Yedim cling to Jimin and the others. Suddenly, Minho receives a message that he has made it to the finals. Mokjin and Hamuel congratulate Minho. After class, Hanuel asks Rosa about the cheerleading leader election. Rosa says they will present their activities. As Hanuel is about to leave, Rosa calls out to him and confesses that she has liked him since they first met. Rosa says she gave up when she found out Hanuel was dating Jimin, But now that they have broken up, she sees a chance to express her feelings. Hamill tells Rosa that he still likes Jimin and sees Rosa only as a friend. He wouldn't have wanted to be friends if he had known Rosa liked him earlier. Machin sees Boyoung sitting on a bench and approaches her to ask what she's doing. Today, Jua is doing a live broadcast with a senior judge. Her voice is heard across the campus. During the broadcast, they receive a letter from Dear M. The letter says that someone the writer loves will face a significant challenge on the 16th and asks listeners to support them. A man with a blue bracelet sent the letter. Meanwhile, Machin is curious about the number mentioned by Dear M and tries to guess it. A customer enters the cafe where Jua works, talking on the phone. The customer orders 2 types of coffee, but Jua tells him they are out of stock. The customer asks for other coffee but complains when it's not what he ordered. Minho, who is there, mimics the customer's complaints, causing the customer to leave. After work, Minho praises Jua for her performance and even records her voice. Jua reveals that she feels nervous and confused whenever she sees Minho. She worries that if she accepts Minho's feelings and starts a relationship, it might not last and could affect their friendship. Jua considers Minho to be the only person who truly understands her. The next day, Minju met them. She reminded them to take part in her wedding as dancers. Moonjun tells his father about the progress of the app he's developing for the competition. However, his father advises Moonjun to stop the competition because he sees great potential in the app and decides to take over its development for his company. The copyright will go to the organizers if the app wins the competition. Upset by this, Rosa posts 2 photos of Jimin with the cheerleading leader and writes negative captions. Meanwhile, Machin is walking with Boyoung, reminiscing about their past experiences. When Machin suggests going to a movie, a man calls out to Boyoung from a distance. It turns out the man is Boyoung's potential boyfriend. Machin, upset by this, unexpectedly confesses his feelings to Boyoung and leaves them. Later, Yedem takes Jimin to his cousin's cafe and makes her a drink. Yedem does this to protect Jimin from the negative comments and posts on Surap. Hamuel sends Jimin a message asking her to meet in front of the dorm. When they meet, Hanu apologizes for not being there for Jimin during her difficult times while Jimin is always there for him. Hamuel then begs Jimin to come back to him. The next day, the cheerleading leader receives a call from a senior advising him to avoid causing any trouble during his internship. When he enters the practice room, he has to stop Jimin's team from performing at the festival because he doesn't want rumors to affect his job. Meanwhile, Boyoung sends a message to Machin asking him to come to the business building after class. When Machin arrives, Boyoung tells him she also has feelings for him. Jimin and Rosa are about to interview for the cheerleading leader position. During Rosa's interview, Jimin accidentally sees a notification on Rosa's phone and discovers that the anonymous account spreading lies about her belongs to Rosa. After the interview, Jimin confronts Rosa. She admits to everything, saying her hatred for Jimin was uncontrollable. They start arguing and hitting each other, unaware that Rosa's microphone is still on, so their conversation is heard by others. Hamuel arrives just as Rosa is about to hit Jimin and expresses his disappointment in Rosa. Hamuel insists he won't stay quiet if something happens to Jimin. Later, Minho and Jua practice dancing to fulfill Minho's promise to his older sister. During a break, Minho tells Jua he will try to get rid of his feelings for her so she doesn't feel burdened. After practice, Jua stops in front of a karaoke building, enters, and chooses song 87,802. She remembers a post on Surap and thinks it might be about Minho. Meanwhile, Hamuel at a record store sees a CD with barcode 87,802 and suspects that Yedem wrote the post on Surap about Jimin. The next day, Machin, officially dating Boyoung, looks happy and labels her phone number as girlfriend. Meanwhile, Minho and Hamuel feel uneasy as they deal with their emotions. On their way to campus, Minho calls out to Jua. Jua looks surprised and remembers a number from a Surap post. Soon after, Yangi approaches them and invites them to eat together. After finishing their tasks, Yedem invites Jimin to eat, but Hamuel interrupts, wanting to talk to Jimin. Jimin declines Yedem's invitation, apologizes, and goes with Hamuel. When Jimin arrives, Hamuel asks why Jimin stayed silent about Rosa's feelings for him. Jimin explains that she couldn't confront Rosa because she helped Hamuel when he struggled after changing majors. Feeling the conversation is pointless, Jimin leaves Hamuel alone. Jua and Yangi are nervous during a meal as the sports broadcasting test approaches. Yangi's invitation for Minho to join them is accepted because Minho wants to move on from his feelings for Jua. Jimin, leaving practice, is approached by Rosa, who asks why she hasn't told the cheerleading leader about Rosa being behind the rumors. Jimin says it's unnecessary because she's confident to defeat her anyway. Meanwhile, the organizers contact Minho about Moonjun's withdrawal from the competition. Moonjun reveals that his father is interested in the app and offers to buy it from Minho for the prize money. Minho is confused because if he sells the app, he can't launch it under his name, and the copyright will go to Lee Fang Group. But Minho also needs money to help with his sister's wedding. Later, Rosa enters a room and sees her team preparing equipment for the planning team. Seeing they haven't eaten, Rosa invites them to a cafe. During the meal, Rosa blames Jimin for the rumors that prevented them from performing at the annual festival. They try to change the topic by discussing better giveaway prizes from the previous year. Rosa starts encouraging them to cheat to get the prizes they want. At the cafe, Mokchin, who plans to announce his relationship with Boyoung, notices his friends are down. Minho, meeting his future brother-in-law, learns that the rent for their future house has increased. After leaving, Minho, troubled by this, accepts Moonjun's offer. Influenced by Rosa, they cheat to manipulate the giveaway winners. While Yaedam and Jimin are eating together, Hanuel suddenly joins them and sits beside Jimin. When it's time to leave, Hanuel asks Yaedam to go home first, but Yaedam refuses. Hanuel then pushes Yaedam into a taxi, making him leave. Hanuel pleads with Jimin to get back together, but Jimin refuses, saying the misunderstanding hurt her and she's afraid to start over. Seeing Mokchin trying to hold Boyoung's hand, Boyoung tells him to hold her hand. They let go when they see Jua approaching. Mokchin tells Jua that Minho has dropped out of the competition. Jua immediately goes to find Minho. Minho says he plans to sell the app to Moonjun for the competition prize amount. Jua acknowledges that the money is high but asks Minho not to sell the app. She suggests that the app must have great potential since Lee Fang Group is interested. Jua advises Minho to start his own business with the app, but Minho refuses, wanting to help his sister and feeling like a burden. Yaedam, who has ordered a gift for Jimin, asks the seller to wrap it nicely because he plans to confess his feelings. After taking a call from the cheerleading leader, Jimin goes to the practice room and asks what's going on. The leader tells Jimin to check the Surat post, which reveals information about manipulating prizes for the annual festival, since Jimin is the head of the planning team. Rosa, still unhappy with Jimin, suggests that the leader remove Jimin from the team because she feels Jimin has tarnished the cheerleading team's reputation. Meanwhile, Yangi, going on a date with Minho, shows Jua a picture of her outfit and asks for her opinion. Jua, not wanting to disappoint Yangi, asks her to find out what type of woman Minho likes. Mokchin, having seen a post on Surat, tells Minho that Jimin has apologized and resigned from the cheerleading team. At a cafe, Yaedam, aware of the news, tries to comfort Jimin and suggests that she try something new, he promising always to help her. Yaedam says the cheerleading team has caused her many wounds, so he encourages Jimin to explore new opportunities. After hearing all the problems that befell his younger brother, Minju goes to see Minho and expresses her disapproval, saying she doesn't want Minho to give up his dreams for her wedding costs. Minju wants Minho to succeed on his own. Reflecting on his sister's words, Minho cancels the app's sale to Moonjun. After leaving the cafe, Yaedam invites Jimin to eat another time at his cousin's cafe. Soon after, Jimin receives a call from a friend asking her to come over. When they meet, the friend explains that Rosa had previously told them that arranging prizes wouldn't be a serious issue. However, after the problem became public, Rosa acted like she had nothing to do with it and scolded Jimin. They asked Jimin to rejoin the cheerleading team so she can participate in selecting a new leader. Jua starts to feel hopeless, realizing the competition for the sports broadcaster position is very tough and worries she might not make it. Minho continues to encourage her and tells her to believe in herself. He then informs Jua that he won't sell the app and will follow her advice to launch it in the App Store. Jua is happy and hugs Minho. Shortly after, Minho receives a reminder from Yangi about their date. After Jimin's apology post, many positive comments support a return to the cheerleading team. We see Boyoung and Jimin encouraging Jua before her sports broadcasting interview. Meanwhile, Minho gives Jua a drink bottle and cheers her on in the waiting room. Jua, while practicing, sees a recent Surat post with a photo of a heart-shaped bottle cap and the message, "Dear M," with a thank you note, "My first love." During the interview, Jua and the other candidates enter the room. A staff member brings coffee and places it on the table. Each candidate is asked to introduce themselves using the coffee cup. Since Jua has no broadcasting experience, one judge criticizes her for failing to meet their criteria. Feeling sad, Jua leaves the room. With much support, Jimin decides to rejoin the cheerleading team and now competes against Rosa for the new leader position. We see Mokchin and Boyoung having a meal at a cafe. Mokchin invites Boyoung on vacation and shows her beach photos, but her feels jealous when he learns Boyoung's been there with her ex. At the cafe where Jua works, she tells everyone about her interview. Seeing Boyoung and Mokchin sitting apart, Jua asks if they're fighting. They are surprised that Jua and others know about their relationship. After the election, everyone cheers as Jimin wins the new leadership position. Hanyul, now reconciled, greets Jimin, who is surprised that Hershey and Hanyul haven't gotten back into a relationship. They explain that before meeting Jimin, Hanyul came to them asking for help to persuade Jimin to return to the cheerleading team because Hanyul knew how much Jimin loved it. Later, Yedem calls Jimin to congratulate her and invite her to meet at 8 p.m. After Jua returns the drink bottle, she sees Minho on the phone with Yangi and asks when he will meet her. Minho says he'll meet Yangi at 5 p.m. After receiving a message from Yangi, Jua meets her in front of the dorm. Yangi asks Jua's opinion on her outfit. We then see Minho and Yangi dining together at a cafe, but Minho's thoughts are on Jua. Yangi, knowing Minho and Jua have been friends for a long time, asks Minho how he would feel if the future girlfriend didn't want him to be friends with Jua. Minho replies he wouldn't date someone like that. In her room, Jua tries not to think about Minho but finds herself recalling their memories together. When Jimin is about to meet Yedem, he suddenly gets a message from Hanyul asking her to come to the computer lab at 8 p.m. Jimin decides to go. At the lab, Jimin sits at seat number 8 and opens the computer. Hanyul created a special game for Jimin, connecting each level with shared moments. After completing the game, Jimin gets instructions for a specific place. There she meets Hanyul and they both express their feelings. Despite the late hour, Yedem waits faithfully for Jimin. Later, Minho approaches Jua in front of the dorm. Surprised by Minho's early arrival, Jua asks about it. Minho explains that his date with Yangi didn't go well because Yangi asked questions that made him feel she wasn't unsuitable. Jua feels happy realizing her feelings for Minho. Upon learning this, Minho hugs Jua and thanks her for being honest about her feelings. Next, Jimin rushes to meet Yedem, apologizing for being late and catching her breath. Yedem realizes he's not a priority for Jimin and decides not to confess his feelings. When Jimin starts to talk about her relationship with Hanyul, Yedem stops her, choosing not to know about it. Jua, who attended a campus seminar, meets the speaker who had once been a judge. Feeling guilty for criticizing Jua, the speaker apologizes and encourages Jua to keep improving her skills. Although unhappy with Jimin becoming the new leader, Rosa leaves the cheerleading team. Guests arrive at Minho's sister's wedding and clap as the newlyweds enter the altar. Minho gives a speech. This young man's words touched the newlyweds and guests. After that, Minho and Jua's dance performance was shown. They looked very compact while dancing. Everyone was happy to see their performance. At his room, Moonjun's father showed him a video of Minho launching his app. When Moonjun saw that, he immediately expressed his feelings. Moonjun had been feeling pressured and frustrated by his father's demands. Moonjun found it difficult with his father's request for him to be perfect. After launching his app, Minho was contacted by a CEO who was interested in investing. This marks the start of Minho's business journey. We then see Jimin and Hanyul smiling at their photos displayed at an exhibition. Jua asks Minho if he is the one who sent messages from the number 87,802. Minho explains he never wrote as Dear M, but the story sent to Jua's broadcast was indeed from him. It turns out that Dear M is Mokjin, who used Surap as a psychology student for his research. And that's how the drama ends.